The unexpected discovery Captain Marcus Chon floated in the observation deck of Titan's Edge, watching his crew work on the massive asteroid that had become their home for the past 6 months. The mining facility hung in the void between Mars and Jupiter, extracting rare minerals that Earth's growing population desperately needed. Marcus had spent 15 years in the Earth Navy before taking this job, but he never imagined he would witness something that would change humanity's place in the universe forever. The facility buzzed with activity as miners used plasma cutters to slice through rock that had been floating in space for billions of years. The work was dangerous and demanding, but the pay was excellent, and Marcus took pride in keeping his crew safe while meeting their quotas. His team consisted of 43 skilled workers, each an expert in their field, but 2 stood out above. The rest. Dr. Elena Vasquez had joined the mining operation 6 months ago, officially as a xenobiologist studying potential microbial life in the asteroids. Unofficially, everyone knew she was there because she believed they might find something extraordinary in the depths of space. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and even the most skeptical miners had started bringing her unusual rock samples just to see her eyes light up with excitement. Engineer Sam Rodriguez was the facility's miracle worker. When equipment broke down millions of miles from the nearest repair station, Sam somehow found a way to fix it using spare parts and pure ingenuity. The man could make a broken fusion reactor run on duct tape and determination, or at least that's what the crew joked. His workshop was a chaotic maze of salvaged components and half-finished inventions that somehow always worked when needed most. On this particular morning, Marcus was reviewing supply reports when his communication system crackled to life. The voice belonged to Tommy Chun, no relation despite the shared surname, who was leading the deep core excavation team in Sector 7. "Captain, you need to see this." Tommy's voice carried an unusual tension. "We found something that shouldn't be here." Marcus pushed off from the wall and glided through the facility's corridors toward the mining bay. The lack of gravity made movement graceful, but required constant attention to avoid collisions. As he approached Sector 7, he could see miners clustered around something that definitely wasn't an asteroid. The object was clearly artificial, about the size of a small building, with smooth curved surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It had been buried deep within the asteroid, hidden for unknown centuries. The hull, if it could be called that, showed no signs of damage from the eons of cosmic radiation and micrometeorite impacts that should have scarred any surface. "How did our scanners miss this?" Marcus asked as he approached the excavation site. "That's the weird part," Tommy replied, adjusting his helmet's communication system. "It's like it was designed to be invisible to our sensors. We only found it because Sarah's drill bit actually bounced off it instead of cutting through." Dr. Vasquez arrived moments later, her scientific equipment floating behind her in a carefully organized array. Her dark eyes were wide with excitement as she began taking readings with instruments that beeped and hummed with increasing frequency. "The hull material is unlike anything in our databases," she reported, her voice trembling with excitement. "It's not quite metal, not quite ceramic, but it's incredibly strong. The atomic structure is completely foreign." "Any signs of life?" Marcus asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. "Not biological life as we understand it," Elena replied. "But there are definitely energy signatures inside. Something is still active after all this time." Sam had been circling the object, examining it from every angle with the practiced eye of someone who understood how things were built. "Captain, there's what looks like an access port on the far side. It's sealed, but I think I can figure out how to open it." Marcus felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. This decision could change everything for his crew, for humanity, for the entire future of space exploration. They could contact Earth Command and wait for orders, which would take hours to arrive and might result in the discovery being classified and hidden away. Or they could investigate immediately and deal with the consequences later. Do it, Marcus decided. But everyone stays in full environmental suits, and we go in with maximum caution. Sam worked for 2 hours, using every tool and technique he knew to understand the alien mechanism. The access port wasn't locked in any traditional sense, but it required a specific sequence of actions that Sam had to discover through trial and error. When it finally opened with a soft hiss that somehow transmitted through the vacuum of space, the crew held their collective breath. The interior of the vessel was filled with a breathable atmosphere that their sensors confirmed was safe for humans. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to respond to their presence, growing brighter as they moved deeper into the ship. The architecture was clearly designed for beings roughly human-sized, though the proportions were subtly different. "This is incredible," Elena whispered as she recorded everything with her equipment. "The preservation is perfect. It's like this ship was placed here yesterday, not millennia ago." They found the central chamber after navigating through corridors that seemed to shift and adapt to their presence. The room was dominated by a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with internal light. Surrounding it were control panels covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly, as if they existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. "It's beautiful," Sam said, approaching one of the control panels. "The engineering is incredible. Look at how the power conduits are integrated into the structure itself. This isn't just a ship, it's a work of art." Elena was scanning the crystalline structure with her xenobiology equipment when something unexpected happened. The crystal began to resonate with her scanner, and suddenly the entire chamber filled with a harmonic frequency that seemed to speak directly to their minds. "Warning, unauthorized access detected," a voice said, though no one had spoken. Words appeared in their minds in perfect English, despite clearly originating from an alien source. "Initiating consciousness interface protocol." Before anyone could react, the crystalline structure blazed with light, and information began flowing directly into their minds. It wasn't painful, but it was overwhelming. They learned that the ship was a surveillance probe, designated ZYX4471, that had been monitoring Earth for over 3,000 years. They learned about the Galactic Council, a confederation of 47 species that governed most of the known galaxy. Most shocking of all, they learned that humanity had been classified as a developing species under Council protection, which meant they were considered too primitive for direct contact. The probe had been sending regular reports about human progress, always concluding that humanity was centuries away from being ready for galactic civilization. "This is impossible," Marcus said, his voice echoing in the chamber. "They've been watching us for 3 millennia, and they think we're primitives?" The probe's AI, which had introduced itself as ZYX4471, seemed confused by their presence. "How did you locate this vessel? Your species lacks the technology to detect our cloaking systems." "We didn't detect it," Sam replied, his engineer's mind already working on the implications. "We literally stumbled into it while mining." "Your cloaking doesn't work against good old-fashioned mechanical excavation." Elena was studying the data that had been downloaded into their minds. "According to this, the Council has very specific protocols for species development. They expect us to follow the same pattern as every other species: nuclear technology, then basic spaceflight, then faster-than-light travel, and finally, they make contact. The whole process is supposed to take thousands of years. But we're not following their timeline," Marcus realized. "We went from nuclear weapons to spaceflight in less than a century. We're already mining asteroids and building permanent settlements on Mars." The probe's AI seemed to be processing this information with something approaching confusion. "This is unprecedented. Your species has deviated from all known development patterns. I must report this to the Council immediately." "Wait, Sam," said, moving toward the crystalline structure. "Before you do that, can you show us how this technology works? As an engineer, I'm fascinated by the principles behind it. What happened next would have profound implications for humanity's future." As Sam examined the probe systems, his natural curiosity and ingenuity led him to understand the underlying principles of the alien technology in a matter of hours. A quantum communication system that had taken the Council centuries to develop became as clear to him as a simple radio circuit. "This is remarkable," Sam said, his excitement growing. "The quantum entanglement matrix isn't actually that complex once you understand the harmonic resonance patterns. Elena, look at this. The consciousness interface works by creating a sympathetic quantum field that—" Elena joined him at the control panel, and together they began to understand not just how the technology worked, but how it could be improved. Within hours, they had identified 3 ways to make the communication system more efficient, and 2 methods to extend its range significantly. The probe's AI watched this with growing alarm. "This is not possible. Your species should not be able to comprehend this technology for several more centuries. The mathematical complexity alone should be beyond your current understanding." "Maybe you underestimated us," Marcus suggested. "Humans have always been good at adapting to new situations and learning quickly." As word of the discovery spread through the mining facility, the crew's reaction was not fear or panic, but excitement and determination. They had learned that they weren't alone in the universe, and instead of feeling small and insignificant, they felt inspired by the challenge of proving themselves to a galaxy that had underestimated them. Meanwhile, on the Council world of Nexus Prime, alarms began sounding for the first time in living memory. The probe's reports had always been routine and predictable, but the data now streaming from the Sol system was impossible to believe. The humans had not only discovered the surveillance probe, but had reverse-engineered its technology in a matter of hours. Council Speaker Threndall, a tall being with crystalline skin and 4 arms, stared at the incoming data with a mixture of disbelief and growing concern. His species, the Althurians, had served as the Council's primary observers for over a millennium, and they prided themselves on their ability to predict species development with mathematical precision. "This cannot be accurate," he said to his assistant, a floating energy being known as Flux Prime. "The humans should be centuries away from understanding quantum consciousness interfaces. The data stream is verified and encrypted with our highest security protocols." Flux Prime replied, their form flickering with concern. "The humans have not only understood the technology, but have suggested improvements that our own engineers never considered." On Titan's Edge, the crew was working around the clock to understand every aspect of the alien technology. What they found challenged every assumption about human limitations. The probe's database contained information about dozens of alien species, their technologies, and their histories. Instead of being overwhelmed by this knowledge, the humans absorbed it eagerly and began to see patterns and connections that even the probe's advanced I had missed. Dr. Vasquez made a particularly startling discovery when she realized that human neural patterns were uniquely suited to interface with the quantum consciousness technology. "It's like we were designed for this," she told Marcus. "Our brains process information in ways that are actually more efficient than some of the species that developed this technology." As the implications of their discovery became clear, Marcus made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Instead of waiting for orders from Earth Command, he authorized his crew to begin building improvements to the alien technology. If humanity was going to make contact with galactic civilization, they would do it as equals, not as primitives seeking protection. The stage was set for a confrontation that would challenge the very foundations of galactic civilization and prove that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons, but their refusal to accept limitations that others tried to impose on them. Asterisk. The Council's dilemma, the Great Assembly Hall of Nexus. Prime had not witnessed such chaos in over 2,000 years. Representatives from 47 species filled the vast chamber, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of sounds, lights, and telepathic pulses that would have overwhelmed any single species. But today they were united in their confusion and growing concern about the impossible reports coming from the Sol System. Council Prime Nethara, ancient leader of the Galactic Council, stood at the center of the chamber. Her species, the Eternal Watchers, had guided galactic civilization for over 5 millennia. Their crystalline bodies could live for tens of thousands of years, and their vast experience had made them the natural leaders of the Council. But today, even her ancient wisdom seemed inadequate to address the situation they faced. "The data is confirmed," she announced, her voice carrying across the chamber through quantum resonance. "The humans have not only discovered our surveillance probe, but have reverse-engineered our most advanced technologies in less than 72 hours. They have suggested improvements that our own engineers never considered possible." The chamber erupted in confused discussions. The Zephyrian representative, a tall being with metallic skin and electromagnetic sensors instead of eyes, stood too. Addressed the assembly. "Council Prime, this violates every principle of species development we have observed. No species advances this quickly without guidance." "Perhaps," suggested the Mindari delegate, "a floating brain-like entity surrounded by protective energy fields. The humans have received assistance from another galactic power. The mathematics of their advancement suggest external intervention." Council Prime Nethara had considered this possibility, but the evidence didn't support it. "Our probe detected no signs of foreign technology or influence." The humans achieved this breakthrough through their own ingenuity and what they call trial and error. They seem to possess an intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics that we find difficult to explain. Meanwhile, in the Sol System, the situation was developing faster than anyone had anticipated. Captain Marcus Chun stood in the newly constructed command center of Titan's Edge, watching as his crew put the finishing touches on humanity's first faster-than-light communication array. The device was built using principles learned from the alien probe, but improved with human innovations that made it both more efficient and more powerful than the original. "Communication test successful," reported Dr. Elena Vasquez, her excitement barely contained. "We're receiving signals from across the galaxy. Marcus, there are thousands of civilizations out there, and they're all talking to each other." "Can we understand what they're saying?" Marcus asked. "The probe's translation matrix is incredibly sophisticated," Elena replied. "It's already adapting to human linguistic patterns. We should be able to communicate with most galactic languages within a few hours." Sam Rodriguez emerged from the engineering section, his clothes stained with coolant and his face grinning with satisfaction. "The power efficiency modifications are working perfectly. We're actually generating more energy than we're consuming. The quantum resonance cascade effect is creating a feedback loop that amplifies itself." "In plain English, Sam," Marcus requested with a smile. "We accidentally invented a perpetual motion machine," Sam replied. "The aliens have been using this technology for millennia, but they never realized it could be self-sustaining. We figured it out in 2 days." The implications were staggering. If humans could master faster-than-light travel as quickly as they had mastered quantum communication, they could reach other star systems within months rather than centuries. The careful timeline the Galactic Council had established for species development was becoming meaningless. As if to prove this point, Admiral Sarah Cross arrived at Titan's Edge aboard the experimental ship Determination. The vessel had been built in Earth's orbital shipyards using a combination of human engineering and principles learned from the alien probe. It was humanity's first attempt at faster-than-light travel, and it had covered the distance from Earth to Jupiter in less than 3 hours. "Admiral on deck," Marcus announced as Sarah entered the command center. She was a striking woman in her 50s, with silver hair and eyes that had seen more of the universe than most humans could imagine. She had been selected to lead humanity's first interstellar fleet, a responsibility that would have seemed impossible just days ago. "Captain Shun," Sarah said, returning his salute. "I've reviewed your reports, and I have to admit, I'm impressed. Your crew has accomplished something that our best scientists said would take decades. Thank you, Admiral. But I think we're just getting started." Sarah activated a holographic display that showed the current positions of ships throughout the Sol system. "As of this morning, we have 17 vessels equipped with faster-than-light drives. 3 more are launching tomorrow. Dr. Liu's team has been working around the clock to understand the physics behind the alien technology. Dr. James Liu, a brilliant quantum physicist from the Beijing Institute of Technology, had been among the first scientists to arrive at Titan's edge. His theories about quantum consciousness and dimensional mathematics had been considered too radical by the academic establishment, but the alien technology proved many of his ideas correct. "The fascinating thing," Dr. Liu explained to the assembled group, "is that human consciousness seems uniquely suited to interface with quantum field fluctuations. The aliens developed this technology through millions of years of careful engineering, but we can operate it intuitively." "What does that mean in practical terms?" Admiral Cross asked. "It means we can do things with their technology that they never imagined possible," Dr. Liu replied. "For example, we've discovered that human pilots can navigate faster-than-light travel without complex computer systems. We can literally feel our way through quantum space." Back on Nexus Prime, the emergency session of the Galactic Council was reaching a critical point. The reports from the Sol system were becoming increasingly difficult to believe, but they were all verified and confirmed by multiple independent sources. "They have built 17 faster-than-light vessels," Council Speaker Threndel reported, his forearms gesturing frantically. 17. Most species take centuries to build their first FTL ship, and these humans have built a fleet in less than a week. The representative from the Harmonic Collective, a species that communicated through musical tones, sang a question that was translated as, "What are their intentions? Are they aggressive?" "Unknown," Council Prime Nethara replied. "They have made no hostile moves, but they have also ignored our attempts at communication. They seem to be focused entirely on understanding and improving our technology." The Void Swimmers, a species that existed partially in normal space and partially in quantum dimensions, offered their perspective through their delegate, a shifting shadow that spoke in whispers. "We have observed their quantum signatures. They move through dimensional space like they were born to it. This should not be possible for a species so young." As the debate continued, a new report arrived that silenced the entire chamber. The humans had not only built faster-than-light ships, but had also developed weapons technology that surpassed anything in the Council's arsenal. Their defensive systems could adapt in real time to any attack, and their offensive capabilities were based on principles that the Council's military experts couldn't understand. "This changes everything," whispered the Telepathic Union representative, a being whose thoughts were visible as shifting patterns of light around their ethereal form. "If they continue to advance at this rate, they will surpass our combined technological capabilities within months." The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The Galactic Council had maintained peace and order for millennia by being the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. If humanity continued to advance at their current rate, the balance of power would shift dramatically, and the Council would no longer be able to guide galactic civilization. Council Prime Nethara made a decision that would echo through galactic history. "We will make immediate contact with the humans. We cannot allow this situation to continue without direct intervention. What if they refuse to cooperate? Asked the crystalline hegemony representative, a being whose body was composed of living gems that chimed with each word. Then we will have to consider alternative approaches, Ithara replied, though the words seemed to pain her. In 5 millennia of leadership, the Council had never faced a situation where they might need to use force to control a developing species dot in the Sol system. Humanity was about to face their first real test as a galactic civilization. The communication. A ray at Titan's edge suddenly activated with an incoming message that would change everything. The signal was powerful and clearly artificial, originating from a point in space beyond the heliopause. This is Council Prime Ithara of the Galactic Council. The message began, translated into perfect English by the quantum communication system. We are making official first contact with the species known as humanity. We request immediate diplomatic communication to discuss your recent technological developments and your future relationship with galactic civilization. Admiral Cross looked at Marcus and the assembled crew. Well, it looks like we're about to find out if we're ready for this. We're as ready as we'll ever be, Marcus replied. The question is whether they're ready for us. Dr. Vasquez had been monitoring the galactic communication networks and had discovered something that would prove crucial in the coming negotiations. Admiral, I've been analyzing the Council's communication patterns. They're not just concerned about our technological advancement. They're afraid of it. Afraid of us? Admiral Cross asked. Afraid of change, Elena clarified. They've been the dominant force in the galaxy for thousands of years. They've never encountered a species that could challenge their assumptions about how civilization should develop. As the first diplomatic messages were exchanged between humanity and the Galactic Council, it became clear that both sides were facing a situation neither had ever imagined. The Council had expected to guide another primitive species toward eventual membership in galactic civilization. Instead, they found themselves dealing with a species that had leapfrogged centuries of expected development and was now asking uncomfortable questions about the Council's methods and assumptions. The humans, for their part, had dreamed of finding other intelligent life in the universe, but they had expected to be the junior partners in any galactic civilization. Instead, they discovered that their unique approach to problem-solving and their refusal to accept limitations made them potentially the most advanced species in the galaxy. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine not just humanity's place in the galaxy, but the future of galactic civilization itself. The Council's ancient protocols and careful hierarchies were about to be challenged by a species that had never learned to accept that some things were impossible. As the first face-to-face meeting between humans and the Galactic Council approached, both sides knew that the outcome would reshape the galaxy forever. The age of human expansion was about to begin, and the universe would never be the same. Asterisk.